History doesn't just live in books, it lives in nervous systems. Ever get a feeling, a deep-down certainty about the world, and wonder where it came from? A reflex, a quiet expectation, a warning signal you can't quite explain. It's a ghost in your bones, passed down through generations. That ghost is the world your ancestors survived, translated into instincts, habits, and fears. And in subtle ways, it's still speaking. Because when you look closely enough, every generation is a survival story, written in the language of its time, shaped by the pressures it could not escape. The Greatest Generation, 1901 to 1927. Imagine you're 9. The Great Depression is not a chapter in a textbook. It's the air around you. It's the smell of watery soup simmering for the 3rd day in a row. It's the sound of your father's footsteps pacing after midnight, counting worries instead of sheep. It's the feel of your older brother's shoes on your feet, your toes pressed tight against cracked leather that doesn't quite fit. You learn early to read adult faces like weather reports. You learn that waste is dangerous, and more is never guaranteed. Then, just as stability seems possible, war arrives. A letter, a draft notice, a factory assignment. At 18, you are on a beach, in a cockpit, on a ship, or tightening bolts on a bomber wing. For many, prolonged hardship burns away anything non-essential. You learn to compartmentalize fear and keep moving forward. There is a job to finish, a nation to rebuild, a household to support. Clear roles matter. Practical skills matter. Emotional endurance becomes a daily discipline. That endurance, rarely discussed, often unprocessed, becomes part of what you pass to your children. Those children grow up surrounded by restraint, structure, and unspoken memories. The Silent Generation, 1928 to 1945. You are born into a world already under strain. Economic hardship is not dramatic. It is ordinary. You watch careful spending, careful speech, careful behavior. You see clothes repaired instead of replaced, possessions reused instead of discarded. You learn by watching more than asking. Then war reshapes the adult world around you. Men leave your neighborhood in uniform. Some return changed in ways no one names directly. Some never return at all. You sit near the radio, hearing distant place names repeated until they feel personal. Peace does not fully relax the tension. Political fear replaces military fear. Suspicion spreads through institutions. People lose jobs over affiliations and opinions. The lesson settles in quietly. Visibility can be risky. Safety often comes from blending in, being dependable, not drawing attention. Stability, consistency, and duty become virtues. Emotional privacy becomes protection. Their children will grow up wanting more openness and more voice. Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. You are born into rebuilding and expansion. New suburbs stretch outward. Schools grow larger. Consumer goods multiply. Televisions glow at the center of the living room. Opportunity appears widely available, at least for many families. But prosperity carries an undercurrent of tension. Nuclear drills at school. Sirens. Duck and cover exercises. Global standoffs explained in simplified classroom language. Then, national tragedies interrupt the sense of forward motion. Public leaders are assassinated, social movements erupt, cultural norms are challenged in real time. War arrives not as rumor, but as nightly footage. Official optimism and battlefield reality don't always match. Trust in institutions weakens for many. Protest, reform, and counterculture movements grow. Authority is questioned across campuses and communities. Over time, many who challenged the establishment move into positions within it, carrying both reformist energy and institutional responsibility. The generation becomes diverse in outcomes, but marked by large-scale cultural transformation. Not everyone reaches adulthood under the same conditions, and a younger subgroup feels the difference. Generation Jones, 1954 to 1965. You grow up adjacent to a cultural revolution, but slightly behind its front edge. You hear the music, see the headlines, and watch the footage, but you are not quite old enough to lead the movements that defined the era. By the time you enter adulthood, economic momentum has slowed. Oil shocks, Inflation and job competition change expectations. Entry paths feel narrower. The career and housing opportunities older peers accessed seem harder to secure. You compare your starting point to a promise made just a few years earlier. The gap creates restlessness more than rebellion. You are not rejecting the system. You are trying to catch up to it. This produces a practical, competitive mindset and a strong awareness that timing shapes opportunity. Your children will be raised with more independence and fewer guarantees. Generation X, 1965 to 1980. The sound of many childhood afternoons is a key turning in the lock of an empty house. Parents are working. Divorce rates are rising. Supervision is lighter. You learn routines early. Make food, finish homework, handle problems. There is independence in this and improvisation. You experiment, fail, adjust, and recover without an audience. Mistakes are temporary, not permanent records. Then you watch long-term corporate loyalty weaken. Stable careers end abruptly. Layoffs replace retirement parties. The idea of one employer for life fades in front of you. You enter adulthood skeptical of guarantees and cautious about promises. You work hard, but you keep options open. You build portable skills. You learn early that your primary safety net is personal adaptability. Your children are encouraged not just to survive, but to achieve and self-define. Millennials, 1981 to 1996. You grow up alongside the internet as it evolves from novelty to necessity. You remember slow connections, shared computers, and the excitement of early digital discovery. You are given a clear roadmap. Work hard, earn credentials, build a stable career path. Many follow it sincerely. Then global shocks interrupt the timeline. Terror attacks reshape security and foreign policy. Financial crisis disrupts hiring and housing markets. Graduates enter recessions instead of expansions. Career ladders wobble or disappear. At the same time, social platforms reshape identity and comparison. Personal milestones become shareable content. You learn to present your best moments, even when circumstances feel uncertain behind the scenes. Visibility increases while stability decreases. As a result, many prioritize flexibility, purpose, and experience alongside income. Security is no longer assumed, it is negotiated. Their children will never experience a fully offline world. Generation Z, 1997 to 2012. You are born into full connectivity. High-speed internet, smartphones, and social platforms are already normal. Information arrives continuously. News, humor, crisis, and community mix together. Silence is uncommon. Input is constant. Context switches are rapid. Mental and emotional strain are discussed openly among peers. Concepts like anxiety and burnout enter everyday language earlier. Global events are experienced through live streams and feeds rather than delayed reports. You grow up aware of systemic fragility, pandemics, institutional conflict, environmental risk. You develop fast filtering skills and source skepticism. Digital fluency is not learned later. It is native from childhood. The next generation begins even earlier, with technology embedded from the start. Generation Alpha, 2013 onwards. You grow up with intelligent systems integrated into daily routines. Voice interfaces answer questions. Recommendation engines shape what you see and learn. Touchscreens precede handwriting for many. Early education sometimes happens remotely. Classrooms can be physical or virtual. Friendship networks exist both locally and digitally from the beginning. Awareness of global risk appears earlier. Climate events, public health crises, and world news circulate through short-form media. The boundary between online and offline life is thinner than ever. Artificial intelligence is not an innovation you adopt. It is part of your environment. You are learning to think alongside machines, collaborate with automation, and question synthetic information. You may become the generation that defines how human judgment works in an increasingly automated world. The echo in the room. So when you look across a dinner table or across a conference room and feel that flash of frustration at how differently someone sees risk, work, authority, or change, pause before judging. Listen for the conditions that trained them, the pressures they adapted to, the threats they learned to anticipate. Ask a better question. What were they forced to survive? Inside that answer lives context, patience, and the thread that connects every generation to the next.